Saga Volume 4, written by Brian K. Vaughan and art by Fiona Staples. In this video, I'll be breaking down Saga Volume 4. Last volume shook up the status quo for many of our characters. Prince Robot got shot, and his system rebooted, and when it rebooted, it really kind of messed up his system, and now we will see where the shook up Prince Robot heads off to. The Will got stabbed by Sophie and ended up in a hospital room, and now he is pretty much bedridden and is nearing death. We learned of the Will's sister, the Brand. She may try and do something to help her brother. There is also Gwendolyn, Sophie, slave girl, and Lion Cat, who may try to help the Will as well. Meanwhile, Alana and Marco escaped Quietus, and in this volume will begin their new life on the planet Gardania. So, without further ado, let's dive into it. Saga Volume 4, and see where all of these various plot threads go to. Issue 19. On Robot Kingdom, Princess Robot gives birth to her son. It came out of her robot womb and everything. The baby is technically an heir to the robot throne. Because of this, he will be referred to sometimes as the Princeling, and other times he will be referred to as Squire. Marco, Alana, and Hazel have now settled on the planet Gardania. Hazel is now about 19 months old. The planet they settled on, Gardania, is covered by much greenery, meadows, and trees. Despite the raging war occurring between Wreath and Landfall, the government of Gardania never chose a side, and they have so far remained neutral throughout the entire duration of the war. Supposedly, the Gardanian government is extremely corrupt and has never been organized enough to decide how they would involve themselves within the war in the first place. On the planet Gardania, there is something called the Open Circuit, which is a TV company that broadcasts shows for a lot of the galaxy. It is responsible for employing approximately half of the planet Gardania's population. Alana was lucky to be able to get a job on the Open Circuit by connecting with D. Oswald Heist's ex-wife, Yuma, who happens to work as a set designer on the Open Circuit. So while Alana is working and making money on the Open Circuit for her family, Marco is being a stay-at-home dad and is raising Hazel. We see Marco is at the park watching Hazel while she plays. Hazel's wings have been taped down in order to hide the fact that she has some Landfall DNA in her. Marco has disguised himself with blonde hair and bandages wrapped around his face. While Marco is at the park watching Hazel, a woman named Ginny approaches him. The two strike up a friendly conversation, and Ginny offers Marco a chance to bring Hazel to her dance studio, as she is a dance teacher. She says it will help Hazel burn off some of her excess energy. While Marco and Hazel are at the park, Alana is working on the Open Circuit. She is acting in some sort of TV show, and she is wearing a disguise, a sort of superhero costume as part of her character. Her character is named Zipless. In the scene she is in, Alana as Zipless is talking to another actor named Slipjack. Slipjack is some buff dude with 3 arms and 3 nipples, and in the scene, Zipless and Slipjack end up kissing. The Open Circuit is a little different than TV as we know it though. It is filmed live, and there is an audience wearing VR helmets from all across the galaxy that can watch and even interact with the performers as they are acting. They can even heckle them. One such viewer yells out to Alana, "You suck! This relationship is going nowhere! I got more chemistry with my sister!" This pisses Alana off, and during the middle of the show, she breaks the fourth wall and curses out the heckler and yells at him. After the show, Alana's boss, named Trix, the producer, tells Alana that she is fired. She's a bad actress, and She should just ignore the audience, never argue with them. Coming to Alana's defense, though, is Yuma. Yuma was D. Oswald Heist's second ex-wife, and she is the one that helped Alana get this job in the first place. Yuma tells Trix, "If Alana's fired, then I quit too." Trix, unmoved, says, "Fine, set designers come cheap." Yuma then brings up her ex-husband D. Oswald Heist's and his supposed recommendation of Alana. Alana pleads to Trix and promises to get better at this job, and she also mentions that she has a child and family to support. Trix takes pity on Alana and tells her she's gonna give her a second chance. Over at the Wooden Tree rocket ship, we see Isabel the ghost bonded to Hazel is there, as well as Frendo the gigantic walrus. Marco realized how much Hazel enjoyed playing with the walrus on Quietus, so they traded Gus the seal for it. Also, there is Clara, Marco's mom, and she is reading. Eventually, Alana gets home from her day of work, and she finds out from Clara that Marco took Hazel to the park, which causes Alana to become angry with Marco. The two of them argue about their need to hide from the public, but they stop arguing once Hazel enters the room and they all hug as a family. Issue 20. Prince Robot IV, ever since he got rebooted on Quietus, has not been himself. He is damaged now. He has just spent all of his time at Sextillion since waking up on Quietus, and he surrounds himself with prostitutes and orders more. Mama Sun, the owner of Sextillion, happily allows it. Prince Robot is spending like crazy here, and Mama Sun is all too happy to rake in that money. One of Mama Sun's workers tells her that the news is reporting about the birth of Prince Robot's son, and that Prince Robot is clearly unwell and they should probably send him home. Mama Sun dismisses this recommendation though. Alana is back on the set as Zipless. She's in a scene with another actress whose character is named Kayfabe. The two of them in the scene argue, and the scene ends with Alana being pushed out a window, and then Alana falls on a mattress down below. After the scene, Alana's boss, Trix, tells Alana that she did a good job today, much better. After work in the locker room, Alana talks to the rest of her coworkers a bit. Alana is still hiding who she really is from them though. Once most of the actors clear out, and it is just Alana and Yuma alone, Alana is free to be herself as Yuma knows Alana's secret. The two of them talk. Alana expresses some of the pressure she is under working on the open circuit, and Yuma offers Alana some drugs and tells her that most of the other actors are on drugs too. Alana is interested in getting high for a bit, release some of the stress she is under. Yuma is hesitant to give Alana the drugs. After all, Alana has a little one to take care of back at home, but Alana convinces Yuma that she's cool and she doesn't have to be home for 6 more hours, so come on, give her the drugs. Yuma, she does so, and Alana takes it. The drug is called Fade Away, and it seems to provide some sort of euphoria, and it also seems to be a little bit trippy. Elsewhere, Marco has taken up the offer of Ginny, whom he met at the park, and he has brought little Hazel to Ginny's dance studio. Hazel in the dance studio is losing herself in dance, and she is chasing holograms of stars, and she is burning off all of her extra energy. Ginny tells Marco that Hazel will learn best by example, and she asks Marco to dance with her. Marco initially refuses, but eventually gives in. As they are dancing, Ginny asks Marco his name, and Marco decides to lie and use his dad's name. After all, he's laying low. So Marco says his name is Bar. At the Robot Kingdom, we meet a new robot named Dango. Dango is a poor robot janitor that works in the palace on Robot Kingdom. and he eventually decides to go rogue, and he is seeking revenge on the royal family. While Princess Robot is nursing her newborn squire, Dango, who just killed some of the royal palace guards outside, walks in and confronts Princess Robot, and he is holding a sword in his hand. He tells Princess Robot about his son, Jokum. His son, Jokum, got diarrhea after drinking water from his village's stream, and the doctors told him there was little they could do for a commoner like him without insurance, so his son died of diarrhea. The poor on Robot Kingdom don't have good healthcare or opportunities the way the rich do. Dango says to the princess, "I was with my son the day he died, his empty belly swollen like a balloon ready to burst. Princess, do you know what Jokum's last words to me were?" The princess asks, "What?" And Dango uses his sword and stabs Princess Robot in her head, killing her. And then he answers, "I forget." Dango then grabs the baby robot, Squire, the princeling. Dango, holding the child, tells him, "You have a very, very important job. You're going to help every last child in the Robot Kingdom, regardless of bloodline." Dango wants to use the robot child, who was in line for the throne one day, to somehow make conditions better for the poor on Robot Kingdom. Dango feels he needs an audience, though, to get his message across to the universe. As he wanders around the robot palace, he comes across a TV in the servants' quarters, and on the TV he sees the open circuit where Alana works on the planet Gardenia. And Dango, he thinks about heading there to Gardenia to get on the open circuit and spread his message to the masses about the poor conditions on Robot Kingdom. Issue 21. Alana on set is wearing some sort of sexy nighty outfit, and she is eating some Cacto's cereal, which just looks like some sort of generic sugary cereal. It is part of a product placement they will be shooting later on the open circuit. Alana is talking to Yuma about how much she hates this product placement and how it cheapens their work. Yuma says it pays the bills though. In walks Alana's co-star, Kayfabe. Kayfabe asks Yuma for some drugs to help her get through the day. No way is she going to be able to shoot this product placement without being high. Alana is surprised that Kayfabe performs high. Kayfabe says it's the only way she can get through some of the scenes they are in. Yuma asks Alana, "You want another taste, darling?" Alana answers, "Now I'm still recovering from my first dose 3 days ago." Kayfabe explains, "You build up your fadeaway tolerance pretty fast, and it actually does help you make some interesting acting choices." Alana, she pops some more fadeaway, and then she says, "God, this is the first scene of every boring cautionary tale ever." Yuma tells her, "Don't believe everything you learned in school. Most jobs are impossible without drugs." At Ginny's house, Hazel rides Friendo, while Ginny's daughter Eka plays in the yard with them. Ginny and Marco are talking about both of their relationship problems with their significant others. When Ginny hears Marco's relationship troubles, she talks about her partner, Henry. She says, "When we're together, but when he's on the road, we trust each other to live our lives. A healthy marriage needs a few secrets, right?" And she says this as she puts her hand on Marco's thigh very suggestively. Ginny is coming on a little strong now on Marco. Suddenly, though, breaking up the sexual tension between the two of them is Hazel. She just shit her pants and her diapers exploded. Eka says, "I think Hazel had an accident." And Hazel smiling says, "A big accident." Ginny offers to undress Hazel and help change her. Marco, though, suddenly becomes very worried. that Ginny might find the taped down wings on Hazel's back, so he quickly just takes Hazel home, abruptly ending the evening. Elsewhere, on a spaceship called the HMS Skyscraper, several royal robots battle Dango. As Dango murders everyone on the ship, he manages to kill them all, and he takes control of the ship, and then he sets a course for Gardenia. Back on Gardenia, Alana arrives home and tells Clara and Isabel that she got a 4% raise at work today. They see her bloodshot eyes from the drugs though, and they are concerned. Over on Sextillion, Prince Robot is still out of it. He's having a dream, but he slowly starts remembering that he had a wife, and she was pregnant and was going to have a little boy. And he suddenly awakens from the dream, and he realizes he's on Sextillion. And Mama Sun tells him, "Sir, my name is Mama Sun. It's normally against Sextillion policy to interfere with our guests for any reason, but my legal counsel has advised me that..." Mama Sun's advisor jumps in and says, "Prince Robot IV, there's reportedly been, a death in your family. It is with great regret we must inform you that your wife has been killed. I'm afraid your people are still looking for the assassin. Thankfully, they have every reason to believe your son is alive." Prince Robot asks, "I have a son? When? When the hell was he born?" Mama Sun, looking down, answers, 21 days ago. Prince Robot, short-tempered and angry that he was left in this daze for so long, blasts a hole through Mama Sun's chest, killing her. Prince Robot then says out loud to himself, my father, he'll know how to fix this. He'll know how to make everything right again. I have to see King Robot." Issue 22. Isabel, Clara, and Friendo are still babysitting little Hazel. Alana, as Zipless on the set of the open circuit, is acting in a scene live. She is being held by a Kraken-type sea monster in the scene, along with some other actors. The storyline seems to be that they are co-workers and they work in an office or something, and somehow this Kraken has grabbed them all. The other actress in the scene, as part of the story, asks Zipless, or Alana, "The whole office thinks I'm an idiot. What am I supposed to do?" Alana, though, she starts forgetting her line she's supposed to say. She's thinking. She pauses. And then she ad-libs a line. She quotes a line from D. Oswald Heist's book, A Nighttime Smoke. She says, "Never worry what other people think about you because no one ever thinks about you." The crowd loves the line and they laugh, and Trix, the producer, thinks it was a good line as well that Alana came up with. After the scene ends, Yuma, talking with Alana alone, chastises her for using that line though. She knows that line was one of her ex-husband's lines from his book, A Nighttime Smoke, and she tells Alana that she is giving away information that could get her caught. What if someone in the audience makes the connection between Alana and her character? Alana says that Yuma's being paranoid. It was one sentence from an out-of-print paperback. Elsewhere, we see that Yuma was correct though. The journalist Upshur was watching the open circuit, and he made the connection to the line. He read A Nighttime Smoke because he was looking for Alana and Marco, and he knows how influential it was on Alana. So by Alana saying the line right here, he doesn't know for sure it's her, but he definitely now has some suspicions. Elsewhere, Prince Robot IV returns home to talk to his dad, King Robot. We finally see King Robot in person in the throne room. He looks so stupid and funny. King Robot has a ginormous flat-screen TV-sized head that is massive and required a double-page splash page to see fully. It doesn't even make sense how he would walk around like that. King Robot, rather than being happy to see his son, or at least being sympathetic because of the death of Princess Robot recently, King Robot instead rebukes his son and calls him a coward and a failure who has damaged the alliance between the Robot Kingdom and the Landfall Coalition. Prince Robot wants to track down his son and avenge his dead wife, but King Robot dismisses Prince Robot and doesn't want him causing any more trouble. He says that the royal guards are already pursuing this Dango, the robot responsible. Prince Robot is outraged, but King Robot does not care and dismisses his son away. Prince Robot, he is leaving, but then Special Agent Gale arrives and wants to help the prince, as he feels Princess Robot was a good person. Special Agent Gale tells the prince that Landfall has secretly stashed a beacon in every Robot Kingdom ship. So even though Dango ripped out the tracker beacon from the Robot Kingdom he was aware of, Landfall's beacon will still be in place. And through it, Prince Robot can track Dango's location. And right now, it looks like Dango is headed to the planet Gardania. Marco returns home from the grocery store and finds Alana stoned doing drugs. He confronts her, and she lashes back at him, telling him that she knows all about him spending time with this Ginny woman. Marco has been saying her name in his sleep. Marco asks Alana, "Have you ever been stoned in front of Hazel?" Alana answers, "So what if I have?" The real question here, Marco, he angrily throws his bag of groceries at Alana when she answers. He is furious. Alana is upset herself though. Marco just got violent with her and hurt her when he threw the groceries at her. Alana, crying a bit, kicks Marco out of the house. She says, "Get away from my house right now. Leave." Marco, he ends up leaving. Over at the Open Circuit Studios, Yuma, Trix, and Flipjack are leaving the set, and there they get approached by Dango, who is holding Prince Robot's son, Squire, in his arms. Dango, holding his gun out, tells them that he needs to be broadcasted immediately on the open circuit. Flipjack tells him that he'll just need to audition like everyone else. Dango instantly blasts a hole through Flipjack's face, killing him. Trix, the producer, tells Dango she can't do anything. They shoot new episodes here, sure, but the transmission themselves are controlled by... Before she can finish talking, she gets blasted in her chest. Dango turns to Yuma, and Yuma, scared, says she has something more valuable than airtime she can give him. Just spare her life. She is referring to Hazel. Issue 23. Marco, kicked out of his home, unsure of where to go now, arrives at Ginny's house. Ginny seems pleased to see Marco and invites him in. Prince Robot IV arrives on the planet Gardania to track down Dango and his son. Prince Robot finds the HMS skyscraper that Dango stole and sees that it has crash-landed. In the wreckage, Prince Robot also finds a dirty diaper, so he realizes that his son is probably still alive. Yuma and Dango talk. Yuma, afraid of dying, tells Dango all about Hazel and Alana and Marco and their whole complicated situation. Dango doesn't understand how this helps him further the cause of stopping oppression on the Robot Kingdom. Yuma, speaking like a woman that understands media, explains the universe doesn't care about Dango's story of oppression and Robot Kingdom politics. If Dango were to get on the air and talk politics, 90% of people would tune out and change the channel. He would have no impact. Dango argues, "You're wrong." As soon as they hear about what happened to my own boy, Yuma cuts him off and says, "I'm sorry, but all they'll hear is another angry foreigner. If you want people to pay attention to you, you gotta talk about sex. Your planet has sacrificed everything for the Wings because they promised to keep you safe from the horns, right? But what if Wreath and Landfall weren't even really enemies? What if behind the scenes they were actually banging this whole time? What if your leaders knew the war was a sham, but they kept it a secret so they could keep screwing with you? Dango says, I don't need elaborate conspiracy theories when I have the truth on my side. Yuma says, the truth is boring, but if you just let me live, I swear I could help you craft a more compelling... Dango, he decides to shoot Yuma anyway and shut her up. Yuma is down and bleeding, but she is still alive. Dango, talking to Squire, says, I suppose she was right, no harm in having a look. So even though he doesn't necessarily believe what Yuma is saying, he's gonna at least check it out. Elsewhere, Isabel is trying to speak with Alana about her issues with Marco, and she tells Alana to appreciate what she has with him. As Isabel flies away, Alana takes more of the fade-away drug. At Ginny's house, Marco and Ginny are sitting quietly. The tension is building up between them. They are about to kiss, when all of a sudden, Marco spots Hazel's toy called Honk Honk. Apparently, Hazel left it after their dance class the day before, and Ginny set it aside for Marco. Marco grabs Honk Honk and begins to leave, as he knows Hazel can't sleep without the doll. Ginny tries to convince Marco to stay. She calls him Bar, which was the name Marco told her was his name. But Marco breaks down and tells Ginny that his name is not Bar, and he has no right to sully the name of his father. Marco thanks Ginny for being a good friend and for teaching Hazel how to dance, and he apologizes for any problems he brought into her life. He then leaves to return to his family. On the wooden tree rocket ship, Hazel cries inconsolably because her doll Honk Honk is missing, and no one there seems to know what Honk Honk is. Isabel mentions that she thinks it's something Hazel plays with her dad. This makes Alana visibly upset and causes her to proclaim how much she misses Marco and just wants everything to go back to normal. The two of them have been fighting a lot lately, being stressed out. Alana's been doing drugs, Marco's potentially having an affair. Suddenly, an intruder alert alarm goes off in the tree rocket ship. The robot Dango appears on the ship, and he grabs Hazel. Isabel attempts to use her illusion casting ability to scare Dango, but he informs her that her illusions don't work on people from the robot kingdom. Alana tells the ship to blast off, and Dango trips during the launch and drops Hazel. Alana, she flies though and catches her daughter. Clara attacks Dango and hits him with her cane. Dango attempts to fight back. Clara bites off some of Dango's fingers. Dango eventually hits Clara off of him and then grabs her, holding her hostage. And then he tells Alana to steer the ship to the exact coordinates he's going to give them, or else. Marco, coming back from Ginny's house, eventually arrives where the wooden tree rocket ship is supposed to be, but he arrives too late, and he sees the wooden rocket ship take off into space. Marco is wondering what the deal is, and eventually Yuma arrives. She is still alive after her confrontation with the Dango, but she feels terrible. She tells Marco that she is a coward and ashamed of what she has done. Before Yuma can say more though, Prince Robot IV arrives and holds his arm cannon at Marco, and he tells Marco, I should have known you were behind all of this. Issue 24, the final issue in Volume 4. On the lighthouse planet Quietus, home of the now deceased D. Oswald Heist, we see the Brand, a freelancer woman who also happens to be the sister of the Will. The Brand shows the seal Goose a picture of the Will and asks Goose if he's seen him. Goose tells the Brand that he hasn't, but wonders if the winged and horned couple he sold Friendo to would know. Goose traded Friendo to them in exchange for this weapon he calls a chopper, which he needs this time of year on account of all the bone bugs. The brand shows Goose a picture of the Will's ship called a Starwacker, and Goose says for sure that was here. He recognizes it. But the only person he ever saw coming out of that ship was Lady Folk, a tall girl with dark skin and real big horns. Goose is referring to Gwendolyn. The brand is confused though. Who is Goose referring to? Elsewhere, Gwendolyn, Sophie, and Lying Cat are on a planet called the Patent Planet. The Patent Planet seems to hold a lot of the universe's patents on various products and inventions. The three of them are here to steal a healing formula recipe from a research facility that they believe can help the Will. They fight through all of these weird, grotesque security guards and leave the facility triumphant with the info they need. As they leave the facility, they encounter the brand and her partner, Sweet Boy, waiting for them outside. At first, they all begin fighting, but eventually they all realize they are on the same side and want the same thing, to try and help the Will. Gwendolyn explains they stole a formula for an elixir, powerful enough to heal the Will's injuries. In the elixir, one of the main ingredients requires dragon semen from the dragons on the planet Dannymalt. The brand agrees to help. Although when she hears where they have to go to this Dannymalt planet, she says that's where the stock is from. We of course know the stock as the now dead but badass spider freelancer woman who also happened to be an ex-girlfriend of the Will. On the planet Quietus, Yuma arrives. She used to live here back in the day when she was married to D. Oswald Heist. Yuma talks to Goose, whom she knows from her past, and she tells him something terrible has happened. She asks if Goose still has a psychic link with his animal friendo? Goose says he does, but he doesn't know how far it goes. Yuma wants Goose to track Friendo down. That way they can track down the Wooden Tree rocket ship where Friendo currently is, as well as find Dango and Prince Robot's son Squire, as well as Alana, Hazel, Isabel, and Clara. As Yuma is talking to Goose, Marco and Prince Robot IV appear and butt in. Marco says to Goose, "Sir, we need your help finding our families." So Marco and Prince Robot have formed an unlikely partnership and are teaming up with Yuma and Goose to find their children. And that is the end of Volume 4. Alright, so that was Saga Volume 4. I really liked some of the domestic squabbling stuff on the planet Gardania, seeing Alana and Marco and their lives and their stresses. Alana, she has this job and she ends up falling into drugs, and Marco, he ends up almost having an affair with this Ginny woman, but despite Alana and Marco's differences, they for the most part still love each other and want to be together and try and work through it, so I really liked some of that stuff explored in this volume. I thought the open circuit was maybe a little bit hard to buy into, that a fugitive would lie low by starring on this intergalactic TV show. But whatever, there was an explanation behind it. They wear costumes. Gardania is not owned by Landfall or Wreath. It's kind of independent, so I guess it makes sense. But I don't know if I fully believe it. But nevertheless, it was fun seeing Alana on this TV show and some of that explored. We met this new Dango robot character, and I thought he was a good wrench to throw into this story. He kills Princess Robot. He takes the baby hostage. He also steals the Wooden Tree rocket ship and makes off with Hazel, Alana, Clara, Isabel, etc. So I thought he was fun to throw in here. Prince Robot had an interesting story trajectory this volume. When the story picks up with him this volume, he is at Sextillion in this kind of sex haze, and he's been there for a few weeks. I don't know if I fully buy into Prince Robot being in a sex haze for that long, but whatever, any excuse to get back to Sextillion is fine with me, because Sextillion is always a really fun time within Saga, so whatever. But once he snaps out of that sex haze, and he goes to visit his dad. I thought that was really funny. That King Robot just looks ridiculous. He has this huge, big screen sized TV head, and he's kind of a dick to his son. So I thought that was really fun stuff. And then Prince Robot at the end of this volume ends up teaming up with Marco, and together they're going to try and get their children back. Is a very interesting place to go with those characters. You also had the Will's story progressing a little bit this volume. He is still bedridden, but Gwendolyn, Slave Girl, Lion Cat now team up with the Brand, and they're going to try and find a cure for the Will. So we'll have to see where that goes next volume. All in all, though, I thought this volume was pretty entertaining. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Thank you all for watching, and I'll be back next week with Saga Volume 5.